It's another beautiful day here in Hobart, and I couldn't have picked a better time to come check out the vibrant Salamanca markets. My name is Yazmin Firkins, and this is Last Drinks Tasmania. It's a Saturday morning on the Hobart waterfront, and on a day like today, there's no better place to be than at the Salamanca Market. As one of Australia's most loved outdoor markets, you can find all the hustle and bustle every Saturday morning along the historic Salamanca Place. Featuring over 220 stallholders each week, you'll find no shortage of artisan products and produce. Everything from the world's best peanut butter, Mexican food, jams, books, berries, and more. What more could you ask for? I've grabbed a coffee, had a bite to eat, and now I've got my eye on a hat. Or three. Sadly, our whirlwind tour of Tassie has us hitting the road again. So as much as I'd love to, I can't stay, but I know I'll definitely be back. We started our day with a visit to a Tasmanian icon, and now we're driving half an hour north of Hobart to go visit another. Located in Brighton, the Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary is home to hundreds of native animals, including Tasmania's world-famous Tassie Devil. I'm about to catch up with Greg Irons, director at Bonorong, and he's going to let us get up close and personal with a few of his furry mates. I can't wait. Hi, Greg.
How you going? Welcome along to Bonorong. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. You run Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary.
Look, I do as I'm told most of the time,
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
excellent.
I've got an amazing team of people around me who are incredibly passionate and work very hard. But as a team, we get a lot done in a day, every day.
What's the philosophy of Bonorong?
Well, I think we've got a number of goals to achieve, but it's mainly focusing on filling holes where wildlife needs help. And look, in Tassie, a rescue service is just crucial. There are so many special species here, and unfortunately, when there are people and wildlife, the wildlife generally comes second. So rescue service, wildlife hospital, but of course engaging with people to prevent animals landing here in the first place that need help. So education's so important. So it's everything wildlife where they need help, essentially. As you'll see here, our animals don't run away, they come to say hello, which is what we're all about.
Yeah, great. Should we go meet some?
Absolutely, teething at the bit, follow me.
Let's go do it. First up, Greg's taking me to meet one of Bonorong's cutest little orphans.
Let me introduce you to a very, very special little man that we have here. This little fella, his mum was sadly hit by a car. He's a bare-nosed wombat. So very luckily someone stopped and checked the pouch. And then he was in there. He was only very small. He was pink and furless and his eyes were still closed. So it was a struggle to keep alive, but as you can see, he's doing really well. But very much wants to meet you a bit closer. So you want to jump in and meet him properly?
Yes. Bare-nosed wombats have the nickname the bulldozer of the bush. One look at this little bruiser and you can get a sense as to why they might have gotten that name.
A wombat at this age is very interactive. So, you know, when you hand raise them, obviously they see you as their mum. So while he's down to sort of 2 bottles a day now, which is great.
Okay.
He'll need to be about 2 to 2.5 years of age before he can be released back to the wild. So it's a really, really long journey, but they do so well when you release them. It's just so rewarding.
And they go okay from being raised by humans in captivity to being in the wild? You guys monitor them once you release them? Or?
Yeah, this is the astonishing part. You look at him now and you think, gee, there is no way this animal survives if it's released. But this is where wombats are really unique and probably the most successful animal that we hand raise in Tassie. This little guy at about 18... It's a love bite, it's a love bite. I promise you won't bite hard, he's just investigating. I say that to all the guests before he takes them out.
Stick my fingers away.
Yeah, right. Come here, fella. So in terms of his behaviour, while he's very friendly now, when he hits about 18 months of age, he'll go through a change where he essentially says it's time to be solitary, and the way that he sorts that out is to basically start to attack his mother.
Oh,
so
okay.
he will attack us and bite us really hard. He's a long way away from that, don't worry. And become completely solitary and wild on his own. So he's basically the perfect candidate for release, because when we're done, he's a wild wombat.
And he'll tell you when he's ready.
Oh yeah, our shins will be telling us. Absolutely. No, look, it's a strange thing. People say, oh, it must be so sad when they turn and become aggressive, but it's not. That's how you want an animal to be if you're releasing it back to the wild, obviously. But they really do need attention when they're growing up, or they don't thrive. So this is actually beneficial to him and beneficial to us.
Yeah. And in the wild, how long would he be staying?
Look, he loves shoelaces. He eats them like spaghetti. Oh, young fella, come here. Be
It
nice.
doesn't hurt.
He would, in the wild, he's the longest lived marsupial in the world. So they can live for 25 years with a bit of luck. So one little adaptation they have is those teeth that he's so proudly showing you at the moment, they continually grow. Okay, so when he's eating grasses and roots and shoots and things, oi fella, they'll basically wear the teeth down, but they just grow straight back. But yeah, look, unfortunately, this is how wombats play, is to bite.
Just
so
to
you
bite.
get very, very used to it, but it's, when they first grab you, you feel like it's going to be really hard, don't you? And as we're in here longer and longer, he gets more and more excited and starts biting harder and harder.
Great.
So if I say run, just run. No, I'm kidding. This backside here, okay, give this.
Oh.
Give that a tap. It won't hurt him at all. Feel how solid that is? Okay, so basically for him, it's a bit of a defence mechanism. Where do you want to go? You just want to play today. So when he's threatened, what he can do is run back to his little burrow, and he'll basically clog up the hole and he'll leave his backside sticking out. So that plate is like a front door, but also a very good weapon. So if something pushes past him in the burrow, he'll use that plate and crush their head against the top of the burrow. So when he's 40 kilograms, which he will be, about 1 metre in length, a solid blow with that plate, they can actually kill a dog or a dingo. Just crush the skull.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So not so cute now, are they?
No.
They've got everyone fooled with that cute little face, don't you? Right, we'll be back for you, all right? There you go. Well, I promise you it's not hard. He is just playing, but he's, and I want you to fall when I walk away. Here we go. That's his first burrow there, though. His first one, he did that all by himself.
And how long did that take him to?
Overnight. Yeah, so they learn everything through instinct. So without him having ever seen another wombat burrow, they just one day will just dig a burrow.
Just knew.
Like that, yeah. What are you doing, silly?
See you later, mate.
Well, next up we want to introduce you to probably the most iconic Tasmanian in, of course, Tassie Devils. Do you know much about them?
Oh, a little bit.
So what do you think, what's their reputation? What do you know of them, or what do you think of them currently?
I would say slightly aggressive. Hard to find.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, the common things we hear: aggressive, smelly and dirty, efficient hunters. I want you to forget everything you know about a Tassie Devil, and we're going to start again.
Greg tells me that he thinks the Tassie Devil is the most misunderstood animal in Australia. I guess I'm about to find out if he's right.
All right, so this is Marley.
Hi, Marley.
Now, little Marley here, it's just you don't know how wriggly they're going. Ow, wriggly they're going to be in the morning. Look, again, they just like to play. So they grab anything they can with their mouth, they investigate it with their mouth, and they just don't know their own strength a little bit sometimes. But so this little lady here, you're going to be too wriggly, aren't you? Her mum was hit by a car as well. There's her sibling over here, who I'm going to grab because she might be a bit more settled. So this is Phoenix. She's normally a bit more relaxed. There we go. So yeah, their mum was hit by a car as well, but we do have a number here from mothers with facial tumour disease, a nasty disease that's been hurting them. But these ones were so lucky. They were 45 grams when they were found, so we're talking this big. They were so underdeveloped, and we just did not think that they'd survive. So it was a huge labour of love to keep them alive, but just amazing to see them now being able to live a sort of happy and normal life. Now, ferocious? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, aggressive.
They look aggressive?
No.
Absolutely. Look, we sometimes have people visit us and they sort of peer at the edge and they go, gee, that wall's not very high. And they say, how high can they jump? And I normally say about head high, but of course, no. Like, people even think that this fence will not protect them from the Tassie devils, so they're just so misunderstood. When in reality, they're extremely shy in the wild. They want to be nowhere near you, and there's no recorded attacks on people ever before. So they're not an animal to be feared. And in fact, they're not even a hunter, they're a scavenger.
Right.
Now, they try and hunt, don't you? But unfortunately, our skills are the same top speed as a chicken, so we're not getting anywhere quickly. Our eyesight, we can see about 6 foot clearly, then everything's a blur, and our agility is about the same as a staffy on steroids. So our ability to catch things isn't there. Their role is to clean up all the carcasses and do their thing. Do you want to have a feel of fur? It's really amazing. Have a little feel at the back there.
Oh, it's so soft.
So soft, isn't it? And not smelly either, which is the other misconception about them. Absolutely.
And do we know roughly how many Tassie devils are left?
No, we don't. And that's one of the hardest things with them being so elusive is, you know, how many are there and how do we work that out? So, look, we think there was probably over 150,000 20 years ago, but now, it's probably around the 5,000 mark. So the facial tumour disease, which showed up 25 years ago, has really decimated the populations, unfortunately. So we have a lot of work. I've got one attached to my foot. A lot of work to do now to save these guys. How big's a devil when it's born, do you reckon? Show me with your hands how big you think they are. 8. Smaller. 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 There you go, that's about it. Okay, when they're born, they're about the size of 1 grain of rice. Okay? Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? The pregnancy or gestation period is only 18 to 21 days. So when they are born, they're literally this little pink wriggling thing. And amazingly, the mum will give birth to up to 40 at a time, 40, but there are 4 spots in the pouch.
What an amazing animal. With the population still in decline, the fight isn't over for these beautiful, shy and misunderstood creatures.
All right, so echidnas. What do you know about echidnas?
Spiky.
Yep.
Ants.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Not a type of ant, but they like to, absolutely. Echidnas are fascinating, and look, I'm hoping this little man wants to come and say hello. And look, these guys are probably one of our more prehistoric animals. They haven't changed for many, many, many years. This little man here, his name is Randall, and you'll see he's actually missing his front right leg altogether. But as you can see, he can live a perfectly happy life here with us, which is the whole thought of being a sanctuary. And this is my mate Luigi. Hello. We got them both out to say hello, which is quite rare. Hi. Now you can touch the spines just gently. They're not as sharp as you think. The spines are modified hair. So that's all they are. They're not poisonous in any way, but they are, of course, for defence. Though these guys would eat ants in the wild, and lots of them, we've got a mix that we make that basically replicates the nutrition of an ant. And now what they've got is along the beak there, they have like little ridges. So they don't have teeth. So what they do is they use that tongue and they grind the food up against those ridges, and that's essentially how they chew, and then just straight down the hatch from there.
Wow, it is
weird. Did not think you'd be getting licked by an echidna today, did you? So we know that they live a long time. There's been one tract that's over 50 years old at this stage and still going strong. So we don't know exactly how long, but they're capable of a very, very long life as well.
It's not every day you get to hand feed an echidna. I feel so lucky. If you'd like to support the amazing conservation efforts underway at Bonorong, you can make a tax-deductible donation through their website. Do you have any tips for people, both local and visitors, when they're driving around for wildlife?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked, because look, self-driving in Tassie is wonderful. It's so easy to get to places and so many places to stay, but you want to be somewhere relaxing, having a glass of beautiful Tassie wine or whiskey or something of a night time. So, why not plan your drive to be during the day when these animals are asleep? So, that's what we do. If we have to travel a long way, drive during the day, relax at night. But of course, just driving slower if you are going to drive at night. It's the same message in Tassie, all of Australia and many other parts parts of the world. And you know, we know vehicles are something we can't live without, but for the wildlife, the damage they cause is phenomenal. And look, if people just saw what we see in a week, they would change what they do. So come and enjoy our beautiful, beautiful state, but look, don't tarnish your experience by accidentally hitting an animal. It's going to be bad for you and the animal. So yeah, appreciate you sharing the message.
It's time to leave Greg and his furry friends and head south to the town of Franklin on the banks of the Huon River. Here, I'm going to pay visit to yet another iconic Tasmanian cidery, Frank's Cider, and I'm catching up with John, their national sales manager. John, thank you so much for having us here at Frank's Cider House.
Our pleasure.
In the beautiful Huon Valley.
That's it.
Tell me a little bit about Frank's Cider.
Okay, well, Frank's Cider has come about in the last 7 to 8 years making the cider, but we've obviously been in the Huon Valley. The Clark family's been in the Huon Valley since 1836. So originally the great-grandfather came out from England and bought up some land just up the road called Woodside, which the original farm is at. That's about 2 k's up the road. Okay. And yeah, so he started the farm originally. Frank is the 3rd generation, so it was his great-grandfather who started the farm, and Frank was the middle of that generation, and the owners now are the great-granddaughter. Naomi's the great-granddaughter of Frank.
So it's still in the
Still in the same family, so 6 generations of the same family on the same farm, still farming the same orchards.
Yeah.
And obviously then developed into making cider, and this is actually the old schoolhouse, or the old Sunday schoolhouse that belonged to the church.
Okay.
And so then it's now been converted into our tasting room and our cafe. During the 60s, there was obviously apple production, a lot of, in the Huon Valley especially, in Tasmania, they ripped out all the apple trees in the 60s and 70s because it wasn't profitable enough.
Right.
And so it's only some farmers kept the trees, it was too hard to keep, so our farm did get some ripped up but then replanted. So we continuously replant trees or and regraft. So yeah, we also do orchard tours, so you can go up to the orchard and actually have a tour with Naomi, and she tells you all about the history of the farm, explains to you how we do it, how we graft trees, how we get certain apples onto certain trees, what we use for what, and then obviously the cafe, and people can come and have cakes. And we try and fuse cider into everything that we're cooking.
This place has so much history, it's time for a tour.
So now this museum is filled with all the history of Franklin. So obviously because the Clark family are so prevalent in Franklin, this is all just about apple farming and the equipment that was used for apple packing and sorting. So obviously you can see this is an old apple sorting machine. So all the apples would come in this side over here, and they roll up these pins, and then they go into the roller and they get sorted in size. So as the roller moves and it changes in size, it picks out certain sizes of apples, so they'll drop in, so the larger ones will drop into there and the little smaller ones will move on, and that's how it sorts, and that's how it originally sorted the apples. So instead of being done by hand, this was sort of a bit more automated. But as you can see, it's still a very old machine.
Okay, before I take a walk through the historic orchard, I think I need a drink.
We've got 4 in our core range that we have. We'll start off with our cherry pear. So this is a pear cider that we make from Berry Bosch pears, and then we back sweeten with fresh cherry juice. So it's called back sweetening. So we don't actually ferment it with the cherries inside it, but this is only 3.5%. So it's our mid strength. By far our most popular. So. Very sweet, or not. But obviously just from the natural sugars of the fruit. Nothing else added to it. The next one you're going to try is our pear cider. So this is a straight pear, so Berry Bosch pear. So this is what we use as the base for our flavoured ciders. And that's a lot drier. It's got a different flavour to it. It's a bit more complex than just the sweetness of the cherry.
Yeah, and the flavour holds as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the next one we're going to try is our apple. So that's made Golden Delicious apples, and
you just use the one variety.
We just use the one variety on that. Yes. This is my favourite.
Oh, that is nice.
So you definitely taste all the apple, and because we don't add anything to it, the whole idea is that what we picked off the tree is what we wanted to taste in the bottom. Yeah. So you can taste the Golden Delicious. You can taste the fruit in there. Right.
You can.
This is one that we launched a couple of years ago. This is now, sorry, those 2 are there are 5%, so those are our normal range. This is 8%, our raspberry pear. And
8%?
8%. So same story, we use our pear cider, and then we back sweeten with fresh raspberry juice. So our raspberries come from a cousin of ours, Westaway, berries up in New Norfolk, absolutely plenty. And we chose to make it that high, just to have that variance. Because we had the cherry at a 3.5%, we wanted something that would be at the higher end. And this is exceptionally popular when we do festivals, obviously. Not only for the colour, but obviously for the strength.
Yeah, and easy to drink, like it doesn't taste like
Well, it's probably dry, like out of those four, it's drier than the rest.
Yeah.
It's got a tartness to it just because raspberries are so tart.
So, and do a raspberry with it, right?
Try the raspberries, especially because they come from the farm. And it goes well. Not bad?
Not bad. Frank was the third generation of the Clark family to farm at Woodside Franklin, established in 1836. Some of the trees here are over 160 years old and ripen later than any others in the Huon Valley.
So as you can see, this is where we've planted in new groves of trees.
Okay.
So the whole idea is just to keep for the longevity of the farm. You keep planting as you go.
Yep.
Make sure that you've got young trees coming in. Old trees do bear fruit, but obviously as they get older, they're going to bear less. Flavour's not going to be there. So to encourage the farm and to encourage, we'll plant in all these other trees as well at the same time. We'll take out all the fruit that we're not going to use for cider, feed it back to the cows. They enjoy it, we get better meat. And then the meat goes into what we serve at the cellar door as well. So so like we've made salamis and stuff from our own cattle, and then those go.
So instead of a grain-fed beef, you have apple-fed beef.
Well, grass and apple, yes.
Grass and apple.
So that should be really nice and sour at this point.
Great.
And you can see where we're going. Enjoy. Yeah, it'll make a good fruit one day.
It's got the potential there.
Yeah.
It's going to grow into something great, I'm sure.
When it's big, it's going to be a real apple. We make a lot of our apple cider is made from golden delicious apples.
Okay.
So, it's a very high in sugar concentrate and easily grown. They bruise quite easily, so it's always a bit tricky to see that. So this is the original cemetery for Franklin, and obviously all the Clark family are buried here. And just recently, the diocese were going to sell the building for development. So the Clark family, so Naomi and her husband, have actually just bought the church back. They've been fixing it up and then giving it back to the community to use for services.
All right.
So every Sunday they're now running services here, as opposed to being non-useful and just sitting here derelict. And because her family is so involved in the Franklin area, they decided that they wanted to buy it and keep it for the community.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So here's John's Clark. So
He was the
he was the original, and obviously he was the one who first started it all. So this, we make up only a few hundred cases a year, and we mix apples. So we use a lot of heritage apples in this, so it's a lot more complex.
Okay.
A bit more dry. It's only 5.5%.
And how come you bottle it like that?
We've just bottled it in a 750ml just as a difference. We didn't want it
Okay.
because we already had so many in the 330s anyway. But that's on number 5 on your pedal, so that's a bit drier as well.
Oh, that's so different.
So completely different to the other. So no sweetness.
No.
It's got a bit of wood in there. So we do age it a bit, so it's got a bit of wood flavour there, but it's not overly wooded. And it's just it's a lot lighter on the palate.
Slightly smoky?
Yeah, and that'll come from the wood.
Yeah.
So you'll get that sort of woody flavour that comes through, but it's just not. It's not enough that it feels like it's been sitting in a barrel for its whole life.
I don't think I've ever tasted cider that tasted
That good?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then the next one, so this is Metro Traditional. So this is a pear cider made in the bottle like champagne. So it sits in the bottle, it's racked in the bottle, and then it's degorged and everything. So it's made exactly the same method, but it's just a pear cider. So that'll be that's that last one.
The last one.
6. Now that's got a really champagne-y flavour to it. So you can taste the yeast in there, you can taste the fermentation. And it's exceptionally more complex than to the other ciders that we have.
If you gave that to me, I wouldn't think that was a cider.
If you would think it would be champagne.
It was more of champagne.
Yeah, and that's what it's, as I said, it's the same process,
Yeah.
wine making and cider making. So you would get the same sort of, I suppose, characteristics coming out through it. But that pear, because we use the pear, it's just got that really dry, complex taste to it. And then we've got one which we've just released, so this one I'll just pour. So this is our hard apple cider, so dry apples and cider apples. Really quite bitter. This is probably the driest, but this is 6.9%.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we've ever put something in a can before.
Okay.
So we were quite, just to see how it goes. So this is a bit of a test run that we've tried. and it's proving to be quite popular. We don't try to mess too much with the flavour of the fruit, is what we're trying to do. So,
Yeah.
cheers.
Cheers.
And that's becoming more popular with beer drinkers. We've noticed that they've started taking that because it's really just not cidery at all, and really smooth drinking.
Very smooth.
Yeah. And then obviously,
Very.
with all the ciders and having the cellar door, we try and incorporate stuff into our menu. So, we've got our salmon from down the road, we've got our salami that we make out of our own cows, we've got all the pickles, we've got the fruit from the farm. So as much as possible, we're trying to encourage Franks to be a part of the community as well as use the community to be part of Franks.
John, thank you so much for having us. I think the crew and I are going to dig into this platter very shortly. I hear you've got to go catch some crayfish.
That's it. And thanks, guys, for coming around. We really appreciate having everyone come, and feel free to come down to Frank's anytime. Cheers.
We will. Thank you. The sun is shining on a beautiful Tassie afternoon, so I think I might go for a cruise on the majestic Huon River. I'm catching up with Brian and Richard and hopping aboard their boat, the Nancy.
Well, the Nancy is 103 years old, and it was purchased by a man just down the hill there, and he took it up to northern side of Brisbane, and he spent 130 grand on it, refurbishing the whole thing, and he electrified it, because that engine there is a single cylinder petrol engine, and the insurance company took one look at that and they said no way. So anyway, he donated it to us, but we couldn't actually afford to spend the 13 grand to get it from there to here, so we paid that as well. And and we try to keep it maintained as he would like it, but he donated it.
As a community boat.
Yeah.
So, and that's what it's used by, the community, largely. So sailing on the Huon River, which is really, what you're on really is the old highway of Tasmania. You've been driving around, there's hills everywhere. You can imagine with a small population, a shocking place to get around in a horse and cart or by foot. So people got around by sea, and this was the main mode of transport, boats like this, at the beginning of the 20th century. Before that, it would have been sailing and rowing.
So I'm just giving our skipper a bit of a break while I take the MV Nancy down the Huon River.
Keep going, you'll be in Antarctica in, I don't know, a week or two.
A week or two? Okay. I might need a jacket.
You probably will.
Brian and Richard are known as Nancy Fanciers, and having spent a beautiful afternoon aboard, I can see why. I might become a fancier myself. After a huge day like the one we've had today, I've decided to check the crew and I into a villa nestled in the mountains of the Huon Valley, where I might do a little R&R, and I can't think of a better place for it. We've just come up the hills of the Huon Valley to this secluded bush retreat. We still have so much to see and do around Tassie. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Next week on Last Drinks Tasmania, we head to the historic town of Kempton, where I visit 2 more of Tassie's unique distilleries, and I spend the night in a lovingly restored church. Don't miss it.